Ladies, gentlemen, absolutely fantastic to see your faces. Today, we've got quite a bit to talk about in the realms of news. As always, this video is timestamped just in case you want to see the chapters of stuff that we're talking about. I think we've got some really interesting topics to dive into today. And initially, we have to start off with Superman, because today, the runtime for Superman has been revealed here from DC Film News. Currently listed at 122 minutes. International distributors have just received the update. So what are my thoughts about a 2-hour 2 minutes movie length? Well, I'm a bit of a mixed mind about this. I would have liked it to have been around maybe 2 hours, 20 minutes or so, and I absolutely do believe, just like probably most comic book movies, well, most movies out there, there was always a longer cut of this film. But, you know, for one reason or another, during editing, for pacing, or whatever else made these scenes work and connect to the next scene, and the overall movie work better, it got it down to 2 hours, 2 minutes, and that's the best product that Gunn believes should be put out there. Just like his first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which I googled here, and it was exactly 2 hours and 2 minutes. So my overall thoughts here: Superman, 2 hours, 2 minutes. I think overall that is a good movie length for most people, most general movie-going audiences. It's not too short because, believe it or not, it can go quite a bit shorter. It's not too long for what I would say some attention spans are these days, or what you risk doing to some audiences if you do expand the runtime to, I don't know, north of 2 hours and 30 minutes. So 2 hours, 2 minutes, maybe Gunn's just like, hey, I can make the movie work at this length. It worked for Guardians of the Galaxy. I've got everything that I approve of in this version of the cut at 2 hours and 2 minutes. So let me know what you think about that. Are you happy that it's this long? Would you have liked it to have been a bit longer, knowing that, you know, there's probably some stuff on the cutting room floor? Now, before we move on to some more of the recent juicy news, we've also got some other Superman stuff, which I didn't speak about in a news roundup video because I was away at a wedding. But now I just want to give a quick opinion on it. I know I showed some of these photos in Friday's video because they came out right as I was uploading it. But I just want to say, that new image of Superman, I think it looks so good. I think, as the kids are saying these days, this promo photo of David Corenswet standing there in his Superman suit at the Fortress of Solitude is giving the aura. I said it, but no, really, like, I get what people mean when they say that, and absolutely. And to the point of where people have said, this should have low-key have been the first look. And I do agree. I've had some people reply to that saying, well, no, technically, that first look we got of Superman putting on his boots caused a big conversation, and, you know, whether you realize it or not, could have actually have helped out with the larger conversation at hand, or could have been this massive kind of psychological long-term plan to make things look better slowly but surely along the way. And it's like, I don't know about that. Like, let's just simplify it and say, hey, you know, out of all the Superman looks that you could have put out there, even though I've been a long defender of saying, I actually like that image of him suiting up there. However, is it the best pose that you should have put out first for your, like, actual first look at your live-action Superman? Not really. Like, it probably should have been something like a pose like this. And I think a lot of people are in agreement that this would have, you know, sure, some people, or a lot of people would have still been like, oh man, that suit, I don't know about that. But I also think a lot of people would have been like, oh damn, he really is giving off quite a bit of Superman Christopher Reeve type energy there. And I completely agree with that. Like, David Corenswet looks amazing. We also got a couple of new motion posters here, which I know a lot of you have seen by now, so to quickly go over it, I really dig it, but also I'm really happy that they are focusing on Clark Kent in the promo material. And one more Superman story, and that is, out of nowhere, the Superman legal battle returns. Joe Shuster's estate refiled in New York State court seeking to block Warner Brothers from exploiting Superman in the UK, Ireland, Canada, and Australia. Warner Brothers has until Friday to answer. A hearing is set for June 4th, ahead of the July 11th release of Superman. So, what are my thoughts about this? Because I've had a lot of people messaging me over the weekend. What I would say is I agree with what a lot of other people are saying about the situation, and how the reason why this has popped up, again, kind of like whack-a-mole, right, is because the movie's release date is approaching. they're going to try and do what they can, despite getting the same case basically thrown out previously. They're still going to try and be a bit of a thorn in Warner Brothers' side, I assume here, because there is a chance that they could get some form of win. And that could just be, as again, what a lot of people are speculating. Warner Brothers could be like, you know what? Here's some money. Can you kind of stop now? And like they kind of settle outside of that. They might not even need to. Again, it'll probably get thrown out. But if Warner Brothers doesn't want to deal with any kind of inconvenience, that could be a way for the Schuster estate to get some cash out of it. But again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't really have a proper legal understanding of this stuff, let alone in the American system. So again, I think the fact that the case got dismissed previously, the same thing will happen, just like what has happened in years prior to this. So don't worry too much. So up next, guys, we have some intriguing news coming out of quite a big Entertainment Weekly article, given how much they discussed here. And it's headlined, James Gunn and John Cena talk about Peacemaker Season 2's new opening credits, Michael Rooker's role, exclusive. So out of this come quite a few juicy tidbits from Gunn. But also, I guess a topic in of itself that I want to start off with before breaking down some of the, Superman connections and stuff like that. And that is DC Studios at Comic-Con. Because, I've said that I expect some kind of presence, despite people reminding me that James Gunn said that, DC Studios might not be at Comic-Con this year. Well, it turns out, though, that as Entertainment Weekly say here, while fans won't get to see the new credits dance sequence until Comic-Con in July, Cena promises it will be worth the wait. So, at Comic-Con in July, we will be seeing the brand new Peacemaker Season 2 credit sequence, just like how we had them dancing in Season 1. We're going to be seeing a whole brand new one with a whole brand new song. And the reason for that is, don't forget that a lot of the cast in Season 1 died, so you can't obviously reuse that same amazing intro. So obviously, what comes out of that is that DC Studios is going to have some kind of presence at Comic-Con. Now, are they really just going to leave it with, hey, here's the Peacemaker Season 2 title sequence, hey, that was really cool to see, bye? I don't know. No, I don't want to get people's expectations up, and this is neither me saying that we're going to get so much stuff, like, for sure. No. But I do absolutely feel that if DC Studios, James Gunn, doesn't do anything else or decide to show something else, even if minimally, that would be a big lost opportunity. Now, previously, at the previous Comic-Con, we didn't really get much, if anything. I mean, they had a Penguin panel. That's fine. We understand. But now you've got a whole new Comic-Con. They can't obviously show Superman at this Comic-Con because it would have already have been out and done by that point. So I think you should serve something up on a plate in addition to Peacemaker Season 2's title or credit sequence, right? And what is that I realistically think that they can show? Well, in addition to the Peacemaker teaser that they're going to show, why not shift the audience's attention to the next big thing coming out of DC? The movie side, that is. And that is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And guess what? That has wrapped filming. So you're telling me that, with Superman, we got like a logo reveal, then we got the suit reveal, we got other little behind-the-scenes photos during filming. With Supergirl, we've had nothing other than extremely far away drone shots. That they couldn't show us something now that it's also wrapped filming? Of course they could. It would simply be a missed opportunity if DC Studios didn't also have something to say about Supergirl. Hey, here's Millie Alcock in her Supergirl suit. I mean, for crying out loud, I know some people debate this, but I think it's pretty clear cut. They can show footage if they wanted to, and it's not a matter of it being ready or not. It's just if they really want to. And my favorite example to go with there is how DC Fandom, quite a long time ago now, showed a DC Fandom teaser of The Batman when they had only shot 25 to 35% of the film. Now, again, I'm not saying we're going to get that. I would be happy enough with like a poster or some kind of, similar thing with what they did with David Corenswet, perhaps in a better pose. Now, if you want to talk about, hey, could we see anything with lanterns? That's that's where it's like, okay, you know, they could wait a bit more for that. I think that they could show stuff if they wanted to. Again, I don't see why not. The reason why I say I don't see why not is because Lanterns would have footage and plenty more behind-the-scenes photos, just like that one we got of Carl Chandler as Hal Jordan and Aaron Pierre as Jon Stewart. Like, leagues more. They could show 5 to 10 stills if they wanted to, of just how excited they are, as well as a new poster, and possibly even a release date, maybe saying January 2026. You see where I'm going with this? I don't think that's expecting too much, but that doesn't mean we'll get it. One last thing I will say is, I guess it depends if James Gunn and Peter Safran can attend themselves, because if they can't, and it's just maybe John Cena and a few of the cast for Peacemaker Season 2, it's not like they would present the new Supergirl photo or the Lanterns stills and things like that. That's something I would understand, because sometimes they've just been previously insanely busy that they haven't attended Comic-Con. That's why we just had the Penguin panel last year. But if Gunn or Safran attended, that would give them the ability for them to be on stage and say something like, hey, you know, we're not going to show you crazy things, but what we are excited to show you with some of our upcoming projects is, boom, and then like a picture appears on the PowerPoint of the screen of a new look at Kara, and then maybe some Lantern stuff. I don't know, but if they're there, they can kind of control and present that, maybe give us a little bit more. But if they're not there, that, again, would make sense as to why Comic-Con this year could really just be Peacemaker. Long story long, don't get crazy expectations. Please, please, please don't. But I hope that we do get something a little bit more. I have to admit, I would be a bit disappointed if they didn't even want to put a bloody first look at Millie Alcock's Kara Supergirl out there. Now, up next, we've got quite a few quotes to read out that I then want to provide some commentary on. So first up is when talking about how having the DCU helped Gunn weave Season 2 into the larger overall universe more organically, he said, I developed it along the way in conjunction with the other DC projects that we're doing. So it's very much connected to Superman, and it's very much connected to what comes after. I had a rough idea of what I was going to do, but it was actually quite different than what the show ended up being. And obviously, that is something we're looking forward to seeing, how much it truly connects to I mean, obviously, we saw Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, Maxwell Lord. Who knows what other things we could truly get in Peacemaker Season 2. And, well, there's a little bit more on that here. So Gunn says, you've seen what we call the QUC, the Quantum Unfolding Chamber, in the first season of Peacemaker, and we see more about that technology in Superman. The Quantum Unfolding Chamber is the center of the story in Peacemaker Season 2. We see a lot of different characters from Superman in the season, including Isabella and Nathan and Sean, and then we see a bunch of other characters later on in the season from other parts of the DCU and Superman. There might even be one really, really, really big cameo near the end of the show. Okay, well, that sounds pretty exciting to me. So initially, the Quantum Unfolding Chamber, which, you know, we're kind of interchangeably calling the little pocket dimension that Peacemaker's dad had, and that's where we see them running through in the teaser trailer for Peacemaker Season 2, and we even see John Cena walk through one of the, as I like to call it, Monsters, Inc. doors in the Quantum Unfolding Chamber, and when he goes through one of those doors, he ends up in, like, this other Peacemaker's room, in where he gets a gun to the head from another literal Peacemaker. But it's interesting, you know, Gunn also says that, and we see more about that technology in Superman. So that probably means that Lex Luthor is using the Quantum Unfolding Chamber technology to likely house all of those prisoners that he's got, and what you're probably seeing on screen right now, in those little glass-esque looking boxes with tons and tons of prisoners there. But the next interesting bit, as we went over, is Gunn talking about how there's lots of different characters from Superman. So probably not only just Isabella Merced's Hawkgirl and, you know, Guy Gardner and Maxwell Lord, but then he says we see a bunch of other characters later on in this season from other parts of the DCU. So think about it. That means other projects than what we would have seen already from other parts of the DCU, meaning that, okay, so not just characters from Superman, maybe not just characters from Creature Commandos, because obviously we've got Rick Flag Sr. What other parts? I've seen people speculate about, could they, like, really bring in Booster Gold or something like that? I guess you could say he could be meaning other parts of the DCU, like Michael Rooker's character that we're about to talk about. That would count. But he does say there might even be one really, really, really big cameo near the end of the show. And once again, I saw people say, could that be Booster Gold? But really, really, really big cameo is, well, a really big character. That's all it could mean, a really big character. Now, the question is that an existing character like Lex Luthor? Is that a character like Superman himself flying in for something? Or could it be an entirely new character that is also a really big character in the DC mythos, like Oliver Queen? I think if it's an existing character from Superman, and it's not just Hawk Girl, Guy Gardner, you know, they're kind of big, and that's kind of cool. But really, really, really big is either Superman or Lex. And if it's not them, and it's a new character, then that would be pretty cool to debut a really, really, really big character from either another project that's been announced to kind of backdoor pilot them in a way, so you could say Booster Gold with those suggestions, or it could be something like, you know, we wouldn't really be expecting, like Green Arrow, but that's just me saying an example for the sake of it. Now, continuing on, Entertainment Weekly says, as for why patriotic killer Peacemaker, real name Christopher Smith, finds himself face-to-face with the Superman trio glimpsed in the trailer, James explains that it's a direct result of the events of Season 1. We come into Season 2 with Peacemaker knowing that he saved the world from the butterflies. He thinks he's a big star now, and he should be a real superhero. And we see at the very beginning of Episode 1 that he's meeting with the group of superheroes from Superman, and he's basically interviewing for membership in the group, but they just mock him the entire time, so he's not taken seriously. Season 2 is going to explore how Peacemaker struggles to be taken seriously by the metahuman community. He's still considered a punchline among all the other metahumans, so he's starting the season in a bad place, as are all of our heroes, all of the 11th Street kids. Well, everybody but Vigilante, who just always seems to be okay with everything. And I've got this little theory about what Gunn is saying here and how, you know, after Season 1, Peacemaker thinks he should be taken a bit more seriously. And I think that other Peacemaker in that other world, you see all the awards on the shelf and stuff like that, even a key to the city. I think he's going to meet this other version of himself somehow. And that version, alongside his brother and this alternate white dragon from this alternate reality, he's been taken very seriously. And there's going to be a bit of a contrast there between both Peacemakers. But again, it's still such a big, confusing thing as to how and if that's really another reality that's accessed through the quantum unfolding chamber. Now, James Gunn also revealed that it has been a couple of years since Season 1, but he's keeping the timeline vague on purpose, saying, I see how difficult, after all my time at Marvel, it is to make things truly fit together, so it's an unspecified amount of a couple of years, which is fair enough. I totally get what he's saying, but more or less, a couple of years after Season 1, which is, again, more reason as to why I think that Guy Gardner and Hawk Girl little interview could still be in between that 2-year period in where we catch up with what he's been doing. I think, you know, a few minutes of scenes like that in Episode 1 of Season 2 would make sense. And apparently Gunn has quite a bit up his sleeve, because Entertainment Weekly then say there's clearly a lot to look forward to in Peacemaker's long-awaited return. But James still has one more tease up his sleeve. It's all about the twists and turns, he says. It's about the surprises that we find out in Episode 1. It's about the surprises we find out in Episodes 6 and 8. And it's a very, very emotional season. There's a lot of comedy like the first season, but there's also a lot of emotion in it, and it's really good. We finally, as well, know who Michael Rooker is playing. So Entertainment Weekly says Rooker debuts in Season 2 as the Nemesis to Peacemaker's eagle sidekick, Eagly. His name is Red St. Wild, and he's the world's foremost eagle hunter who is on a mission to kill Eagly. We thought Eagly was probably the most popular character from Season 1, and so in Season 2, he has his own story with his own nemesis, played by none other than the despicable Michael Rooker. And I think that is going to lend to some very, very humorous moments. The fact that Eagly has some guy hunting him in season 2, like his own nemesis, sign me up. So the next story today, guys, is a little bit of a continued rumor on the DCU's Teen Titans project, which we know is a very, very legitimate project, acknowledged by James Gunn and Peter Safran. But Daniel RPK is claiming that Robin in the Teen Titans movie is expected to be Damian Wayne. But we've also had Apocalyptic Horseman from Nexus Point News saying that, as I reported, it's the Teen Titans lineup and the Robin of the team was to be determined. So I think it still has a chance to be Tim Drake, and that's undecided. Now, when being asked about Nightwing in the DCU, Apocalyptic Horseman says, no, I don't really know anything, but Gunn said that he's one of his favorite characters. Good chance he can be in the Brave and the Bold or Teen Titans. So, after all, the rumors on the streets is such that it could very well be the Teen Titans lineup, in how you have, for example, the Teen Titans lineup from the animated movies, in where, yes, you literally have Damian Wayne in there, but you also have Nightwing, Starfire, even Blue Beetle, and that could be a really cool thing, because Shola Mardwani is getting his Blue Beetle series. And I'm hoping, please have Dick Grayson, the overall experienced one who's graduated Robin in the DCU, right? Which makes sense, because Damian Wayne is coming into the DCU, into the Bat family for the first time, and that's what Brave and the Bold is about. But there is also the rumor that the Robin was still to be determined, in terms of it could be Tim Drake or Damian Wayne. Now, that's the thing. I just don't see it being Tim Drake, only because James Gunn's, I believe he said before that Damian Wayne is his favorite Robin. So I think it really makes sense after Brave and the Bold that after you have this evolution of the character of Damian in this arc, and where maybe he becomes a Robin at the end of the movie, that he would be in the perfect position to be a candidate for Dick Grayson's Titans, and maybe have him join the group and, you know, learn the ropes and whatnot. I could be wrong, but it's just, you know, you look at Brave and the Bold, you know that character's coming in, you know there's a Teen Titans project being worked on. Makes sense to continue Damian's journey in the Titans movie. That doesn't mean that Tim doesn't exist. Like, Tim could still be in the Batcave and the current, like, most active Robin, if you will, while Damian has gone off with the Titans. Maybe that's more of his, I don't know, proto-Robin phase, as he's learning to become more and more a Robin. Not that he's not trained enough as an assassin, but you get what I'm saying. He's got a lot to learn, and maybe Dick and the other Titans can help him out there while Tim remains at Batman's side. There's a lot to still learn here with stuff like this. For me, though, the most important thing is that I would be kind of irritated if, you know, Dick Grayson wasn't involved and he was, like, off doing his own thing or running a different kind of Titans. I still would like, if you're going to go with this lineup, I suspect that it would be the animated Teen Titans kind of lineup, where Dick Grayson, Starfire is still there. You might have Blue Beetle thrown in from Shola Mardwani's role, playing that role, rather. You might put Cyborg in there, maybe Raven, and then Damian after the Brave and the Bold movie. But let me know any and all thoughts. Obviously, this is just a rumor for now that I wanted to address. A lot of you are asking me about it, but, you know, rumor or not a rumor, it's still a very valid question. Who will the Robin be, since we very much so expect Dick Grayson to be Nightwing, given the fact that the Brave and the Bold is exploring Damian coming into the scene for the first time. He should really be at that stage, so it makes you think about everything else. And then lastly for this video, we have a little update kind of on the Batman 2, possibly. I'm kind of adding a bit of skepticism there, because you never know, but it could be heading in the right direction. So, from DC Film News, they're saying that the Batman 2 is reportedly gearing up to begin filming in London in 2026. Now, the source for this is UK Production, and the more you look into them, as per their tweet here, the Batman 2, basically saying the same thing. Get more updates at ukproductionnews.com, and you go to their website, and essentially it's another similar thing like Production Weekly. It's a place where you sign up for $19.99, Great British pounds a month, and we give you the latest news about which UK film and television dramas are in pre-production and development. Services like this usually do find out legitimate details, quite often tentative, but long story long, I would say that I have a good feeling about this. Going off of recent news with how we've heard encouraging things from James Gunn, like he confirms that, yes, there is encouraging updates behind the scenes. There's a rumor out there that Matt Reeves was supposedly handing in the first draft of the script by Memorial Day, which you may be like, but we haven't heard anything, Boba. I never said that we would on Memorial Day. Obviously, it remains to be seen whether he did or not, but let's just say he did hand it in on Memorial Day, like the rumor said. That doesn't mean we'd hear about it by the 27th, or like today, or tomorrow, or even next week. Like, you know, there could be internal notes. There could be a confirmation in a few weeks' time to a month's time. We don't know, but I've got a good feeling about this, long story long, in how, let's just say, hypothetically, that this UK production thing is correct. It is going along the course of what I said my most optimistic take was, in how, sure, they might not start filming this year, but they might do a similar thing with a second unit like they did for the Batman Part 1, and where they did actually start shooting some stuff in 2019, but the main principal photography began in January 2020. Basically, pre-production will begin soon after the script is all done and dusted. I think they're really ironing those creases out right now as we speak. This is why you're having UK production post this, you know, news in how, early 2026 seems to be the date. That would make sense. 5-6 months pre-production from around about now, or a month's time, really does set things up for an early 2026 shoot, which easily allows them to release the film by October 2027, which is and has been the slated release date for Part 2 for quite some time now. So, obviously, this is pending an official confirmation, but I do think that the wind is blowing the right way. I really do, and I think we should hear something even more concrete from Gunn at some point in the future. I mean, obviously, I thought that it was pretty huge that he did acknowledge over on Threads that there's been encouraging updates, and so I think it's only a matter of time until we get confirmation that the script has been greenlit, and before you know it, basically near enough to the fall, we could be hearing about casting and stuff like that, which, you know, fingers crossed, ladies and gentlemen. But I just wanted to provide that little update that, you know, UK production has heard that they're looking to film early 2026. But ladies and gentlemen, that is everything that I want to get into in today's video. I know we kind of, as usual, rambled here, but I know a lot of you like the ramble, so you know what to do. Ramble yourself down in the comments below. I can't wait to read what you have to say, any theories with some of the Peacemaker stuff that we got onto, and any of the other stories. If you like this video, I'd really appreciate a like, especially if you got to this point. It really kind of helps the algorithm promote this video out there in the search so more people can find it, so thanks for doing your bit to support the channel. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, but again, until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you people of the DCU and other DC realms in the next video. Goodbye.